Welcome to the All Out Leadership Podcast, hosted by Pastor Eric Lawson, where each episode is uniquely designed to help you live all out by bringing you practical leadership from a biblical perspective delivered in 10 minutes or less. So whether you're a business leader, serving in ministry, or simply looking to grow in your leadership, this podcast is for you. Before we dive into this week's topic, make sure to subscribe to the podcast and download the show notes at ericlawson.com/podcast. And while you're at it, feel free to share the content on social media. Now, let's join Pastor Eric for this week's conversation.
Welcome to another edition of the All Out Leadership Podcast. We're continuing with the Church of Philadelphia, Church of Brotherly Love. Last week, we talked about missed opportunities. Today, I want to talk about how do you discern the difference between a good opportunity and a God opportunity. I want to read our text again, Revelation 3:7, to the angel of the Church of Philadelphia, right? These things says he who is holy, he who is true, he who has the key of David, he who opens and no one shuts, and shuts and no one opens. I know your works. See, I've set before you an open door, and no one can shut it. I want to share a practical story. I've shared this before, but it really fits inside of this, and that is our third campus, Warrenton. When we launched it pre-COVID experience, and we were at a point where we knew we would want to be in Warrenton someday. We wanted to be in Troy with the campus someday. We were already in St. Charles, and so we were just kind of going through our daily routine of ministry, and we were working on things that were in front of us that we needed to be working on as a church. And we got approached from a family that owned a theater, some business partners that owned a theater out in Warrenton. They said, hey, we'd really love to see Element Church out here, and we think this would be a great opportunity for you to have services on the weekend, Sunday mornings. We'll work with you. And we're like, hey, great, thanks. But that's just not on our plan right now. Someday, but just not right now. So we turned it away. Well, it was like a month later, they came back. Hey, we really think you need to be out here. We'll work with you. We'll work out a great price. And it's like, hey, great, thanks. But it's not quite on our to-do list right now. And so we pushed it back like 4 different times. Finally, it kind of hit me. Hey, maybe, just maybe, God is opening a door of opportunity here. And you might be foolish if you don't at least explore this. And so as we explored it, sure enough, we had a peace. We had a green light in our spirit that, yeah, this was a door God opened. And so sure enough, man, we launched that campus. In a year, we had 200-something people coming out. COVID hit. We had to shut that down, just like, most churches had to for that season. And after we realized we needed to just go ahead and pause that and reopen St. Charles, reopen our Wentzville campus. And in the right time, we felt God would allow us to relaunch our Warrenton campus. But the key was we walked through an open door. Well, just like God brought that back to us one day, just a little over a year ago, I get a phone call. Hey, would you like to buy the movie theater where you guys had your Warrenton campus? And we go, yeah. And so we talked about it and worked out a price, and God blessed us with the opportunity to actually buy that building. And now we got a third campus there in Warrenton, and they're just doing an incredible job out there touching lives. And so awesome. But it all began by us recognizing that God opened a door and that we walked through it. So I want to just throw out 3 little thoughts that if you're testing to see, is this a God door or is this just a good door? Because not every door that opens really is a door that you should walk through. Satan can open doors. We'll actually talk about that one here in a minute too in an upcoming podcast. But 3 things. Number 1, when the Warrenton campus came to us, it was already something that was in our heart to do. It wasn't like something we had never thought of. It wasn't something that was not part of our vision, our values, part of our mission. We were like, no, we want to be out there. We had already talked about it. We knew it was a desire of our heart already. So Psalms 37 says, delight yourself in the Lord. He'll give you the desires of your heart. So one litmus test to see, is this a God thing? Is it something that has already really been in your heart? Or did it kind of blindside you, hit you from left field, and now you're going, well, yeah, I think we can make it work. Or, yeah, I think we can make it part of our vision. No, this was already part of our vision. It just wasn't on our specific timeline to get that done. So it was already a desire of our heart. Chuck Smith founded the Calvary Church movement out of Costa Mesa, California. And somebody asked him, years later after the church exploded and it's tens of thousands of people, and people said, Chuck, why did you choose Costa Mesa? And he goes, well, I love to surf and it's by the ocean. So it's a very spiritual answer. But it goes back to St. Augustine. He made a statement. He says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, and then do whatever you want. This is really based upon when you delight yourself in the Lord, God puts his desires in your heart. Jesus said it. He said, ask the Father what you will, and it'll be done of you. Now, the predicate there is that, the assumption is that when you're delighting in God and you're seeking to please God, God will have put his desires for you already inside of your heart. So for us, one sign that this was the right door is something that was already inside of our heart to do. Number two, it was doable. Where God guides, God provides. Where there's his vision, there's provision. It wasn't a leap, it was a step. God doesn't lead by leaps, he leads by steps. Steps of the righteous man are ordered of the Lord. Now, a God-sized vision will always require a God-sized intervention. We didn't have everything we needed, but through God, we knew we could get what we needed. We didn't take a leap. We didn't bet the farm. It was a stretch, but it was doable. And so one way to know a door is really God is, yes, it's going to require faith, but you go, you know what? This is doable. Number three, the design. The design of that door fit our vision. So there's times doors open up and you go, yeah, I can go through that, but you're carrying a stack of 2x4s that might represent vision, values, culture. And you go, yeah, we can make it work if we just kind of cut the ends of these 2x4s off here. If we, shorten this one here, we can get through that door. Well, that's really not a good sign. If you have to start modifying your vision, making all kinds of concessions to walk through that door, and that door just doesn't fit you already, then it probably is not the right door. Well, this door fit us. The Warrenton Theater fits very well in the style of how we do church, how we do ministry. It just fit us perfectly. And so we were able to walk right through that and not have to change who we are, change our values, really make much changes at all, other than just upgrade the facility for us to be able to do church. So it was a desire, it was doable, and the design already fit us. So just a couple practical things to keep in mind when you're considering, is it a God door or just a good door? See you next week.
Thank you for joining us on the All Out Leadership Podcast. We hope you gained new biblical insight that challenged you to grow in your leadership. If you've enjoyed this week's episode, we would love your help in getting the content out farther. You can help by subscribing to the podcast at ericlawson.com/podcast and telling others about it. Next week, Pastor Eric will be back with another episode. So until then, we hope you have a great week being an all-out leader.